Good morning and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Executive Committee for June 18th, 2014. I am Mayor Betsy Hodges, Chair of the committee, joined this morning by Councilmember Cam Gordon, Council President Barbara Johnson, and Councilmember Kevin Reich. We are a quorum of the committee. I know that Councilmember Glidden is away today on city business. So we have two items on our agenda today. The first is a discussion item, and the second will be a session regarding labor negotiations. But the first item is regarding the Civil Rights Department, a status update on Councilmember Gordon's March 28th staff directive for the following. Consult with AFSCME representative to consider reinstatement or creation of a new labor management committee in the Civil Rights Department, and B, work with the Mayor's Office and Civil Rights Director, and if deemed appropriate, hire outside management consulting services for the purpose of evaluating and improving management practices in the Civil Rights Department related to employee satisfaction and maintenance of a healthy workplace environment. And to give that update this morning, we have the Interim City Coordinator, Jay Strobel. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Jay Strobel. I'm the Interim City Coordinator. In response to the staff directions, I want to give a quick update this morning. The city has retained a management consultant, Barbara Brunzell of Brunzell Consulting, to evaluate the culture of the Civil Rights Department. This work is currently underway, and a report with findings and recommendations is expected back from Ms. Brunzell by the end of the month. After reviewing Ms. Brunzell's report and the results from the recently completed My Minneapolis Employee Engagement Survey for Civil Rights, I plan on holding a conversation with Ms. Corbell, Patience Ferguson, our HR Director, and Mayor Hodges to discuss next steps. Related to the portion of the staff direction calling for a consultation with AFSCME, Paul Lawson, my predecessor, and I have both had conversations with Sarah Maxwell, president of AFSCME, and she is comfortable with waiting until further information is known regarding the workplace culture of Civil Rights Department to determine if the creation of a labor management committee is needed. So in summary, work is underway regarding these two staff directions, and more information will be known in a few weeks.
Great. Questions for Mr. Strobel? Council President Johnson.
Mr. Strobel, thank you. And Mayor Hodges, thank you. Mr. Strobel, AFSCME is not the only union in civil rights. Is that correct?
Mayor Hodges, Council President Johnson, I don't know the answer to that question. My guess would be that's correct. That AFSCME would not be the only.
Okay. I'm just thinking if we're going to, one of the things we should think about long term with Ms. Maxwell is a labor management committee shouldn't just include one bargaining unit if there's more than that. So, excuse me, I've got a cold. And so you think the consultant will finish this work by the end of June? That's very. So when is she coming on board?
Mayor Hodges, Council President Johnson, my understanding is that the work started earlier this month, and that we expect that work to conclude, and hopefully we will have that report by the end of the month.
Okay. Will that work include interviews with employees?
Mayor Hodges, Council President Johnson, that is correct. There's the intention, or the hope is to have interviews with all the employees, although the interviews are optional.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. All right, that's into my questions.
Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate getting the update and that we're moving forward on these. I hope the labor management advisory team gets up and running and is robust, and it seems like it would be even good if it was ongoing. So that's just my personal wish, even if it's deemed unnecessary by everybody else. I think I'll still think that might be a good idea, and I'd recommend it to them. I was also curious if there'll be any interviews with previous employees from the department. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I think that might give some perspective of where we've come, what was going on, because a lot of what we heard about was past things, and maybe we'll then can clearly note some significant improvements or not. So that's an idea to maybe to bring back to the consultant to see if there's be any potential interest in that. And then maybe my bigger question and my challenge is to figure out what role the executive committee should play in this. I understand you said there'll be a meeting with the mayor, the consultant, and you. But is there a time when the executive committee will get this information? Is this the appropriate body? I know that we have worked in the past at developing the 360 review process. This was years ago, but to do a better job as a committee of helping to evaluate department heads. And I think if we have any issues with department heads at all, it's partly our responsibility, and we should be helping and fulfilling that role as an executive committee. So I'm trying to figure out how that we might do that, and would there be a way that we could tie in some kind of a formal performance review with all of this process? I do know that there is the 360 reviews that get done every couple of years, but I don't believe the executive committee necessarily reviews or discusses those together as a group, or has under the previous mayor for the last 8 years. I know we instituted the process, but I keep feeling like we missed a piece because we don't actually have discussions with the department heads as a committee, and maybe we shouldn't, I don't know, but I appreciate thoughts from my colleagues here.
Councilmember Gordon, I think those are questions best asked of our city attorney, Ms. Segal. And I heard a couple of questions in there, Ms. Segal. One is, would there be legal issues about having conversations with former employees, or sort of procedural issues on that? And then the performance review question, I know that we have a unique structure in the city of Minneapolis in terms of reporting, et cetera, and particularly with the civil rights director and the charter relationship between the mayor and the civil rights director, what role would the executive committee play?
Madam Chair, first, with respect to the question of interviewing previous employees, it seemed to be a bit beyond the staff direction, because that was really focused on present things in the department and working on assessing the environment currently in the department. Although I assume that information could be provided to the consultant, about some past issues, and I think I see a couple of reporters here. They've also, just reading some of the articles, there's information available in the public, but I suppose that there could be discussion about that. With respect to the second question, it is a little more complicated because the Civil Rights Ordinance specifically provides that the direction and responsibility for the department is under the direction of the mayor. However, the executive committee does have the authority under the charter to appoint and remove charter department heads, as well as individuals like the Civil Rights Department director, because the Civil Rights Director is appointed by the mayor pursuant to ordinance. So I think that there is a role for the executive committee in terms of assessing performance within their charter of being able to appoint and remove department heads, including the Civil Rights Director.
Council President Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, to follow up on that, Ms. Segal, what about discipline? Is there a process for that?
Madam Chair and Council President Johnson, yes, there is specifically in the charter authority to suspend a department head subject to the executive committee's authority. So that is in the charter. And then the executive committee has rules as well that relate to those, that provides a process and procedure for discipline.
Thank you.
Further questions for Mr. Strobel? I don't see any. Thank you very much for the update. I don't think we need to take action on this item since it's an update. Council President Johnson.
Thank you, Ms. And Mr. Strobel, I did this enough for you. I just want to say that I am appreciative that the consultant that we have on board, I think, will give us additional information. We've received additional very clear information since the appointment process, and I am very disappointed at some of the statements that were made to our employees. And I apologize on behalf of the city to our employees who felt that their careers were threatened, that they're both within the city and in the general, if they left the city. So I hope that our employees feel free, and did feel free during the employee survey to express themselves directly, and I hope that they will participate with the consultant in a very full way so that we can move on. And I really want to say I will wait for the consultant's report, but I am extremely disappointed in what I have heard and read, and I'm not closing any doors today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So we will then move on to item number 2, the Human Resources Department labor negotiations. We have a tentative agreement with the Minneapolis Foremen's Association, since that has the potential to be a closed session for purposes of discussing labor negotiations. We will adjourn to room 315.